Welcome to the Therapy Dogs Australia podcast. I'm Sam King, owner of Therapy Dogs Australia, psychologist, animal assisted therapist, and accredited dog trainer. With over a decade in the field with my team of dogs, I'm here to share practical advice, honest stories, and expert insights for professional therapy dog handlers, dog trainers, and canine enthusiasts who want to live and work ethically and expertly with their canine co-therapists.
And I'm Max, your co-host, Therapy Dogs Australia's creative lead and passionate dog owner, here to ask questions and bring curiosity as we explore this fascinating industry together.
So, whether you're a seasoned handler or just starting out, this podcast is here as a professional development resource to support you and your dog on your journey throughout this exciting industry.
While chatting to a range of inspiring people about our absolute love of dogs and the power of the human-animal bond. And don't forget to follow, subscribe, and leave us a review to help others find us too.
Today, guys, we are very excited to have a guest with us again, who I think you're going to enjoy hearing about their story. You've actually already heard a little bit about these guys. But first of all, I just wanted to jump out with a few quick announcements. One, the video markers are well and truly catching up on all the videos. So I was doing graduations on the weekend and we're sending out coats and bandanas today and all that sort of stuff. So it's all very exciting. So if you are on the list, it won't be long. The other thing is, our video fee did go up on the 1st of March. So if you've missed the emails about that, just be aware that it is $170 now. So be mindful of that, guys. And congratulations to the teams that did graduate over the weekend. Very exciting. It's very fun sending out all of the coats and bandanas and things like that. So yes, just a quick moment to mention that. And now we're going to get straight into having a little chat with Mel. So you guys all heard us talking about Mel and little Pascal. If you've been watching our socials, cutie little Pascal's been up on there a couple of times. So Mel is a founder of Pynmanto, which is an animal and nature-based learning business in Far North Queensland. So Mel does animal and nature-based learning with her horses, and now little Pascal as well, who graduated, I think it was right at the end of last year. And what we want to talk to Mel about today is that I've known Mel for over a year. It must be over a year now, or a year, because you did our puppy and adolescent program and then went into the course and then graduated with very high scores that we were very proud of. And the dog father up in town, huge congrats to Mel. And, even the dog father gave you a little shout out on his socials as well. Everyone's very proud of all of the hard work that you guys put in. And I know that our listeners would be very happy to hear your story, because you went and got yourself a job with Pascal. We want to hear all about it.
Yeah, I'm excited to share. And obviously it starts way back before the dog idea, because I have worked alongside horses for 3.5 years now, and Pascal was actually my wet weather option. So it wasn't something, it wasn't actually something on my radar in the sense of having a dog, because I'm a busy person. I'm a solo business runner. I don't have time for a dog, was what the story was that I told myself. So it was kind of the last few years with wet weather up here in North Queensland means that it makes it really, really hard to work. And then last year we had over 3 meters of rain in a couple of months, and it was just like, this is ridiculous. Yep, couldn't get to the paddock, couldn't access the horses for a few weeks. So I was like, what can I do to diversify my business as an experiential learning practitioner that allows me to still work in another way when I can't get to the paddock? And one of my good friends, Jezzy at Wolfpack Wellness, I'd been to a retreat to support them, and they had lollies. And I was like, oh, she's cute. And, I got along really well with her.
Lollies is a dog, guys.
Yep.
They had candy there, and I was like, you son of a bitch, I'm in.
And so meeting Lollies and hanging out with her, I was like, she's a really lovely dog. She's an oodle, because I'm actually allergic to dogs and horses. And then they said, oh, she's having babies. I'm like, yeah, that's nice. And then I just went, oh, this could be my wet weather option. And I was still a bit like, oh my God, I don't know about getting a dog because I don't have time. I'm doing uni, which has me travel every month as well. So do I really have capacity for this? And I was just like, as I always do, just do the thing and I'll work it out.
Yeah. I
What
like
kind
that
of
option as
oodle?
well.
She's a mini Labradoodle, little black furball thing. I was going to bring her in today, but I was like, oh, she might make noise and get distracting. So she's at home resting.
Fair
Bless
enough.
her. And I really feel you on the wet weather thing. Hey, it's one of those, like, we love this outdoor therapy and, all this, the options, I'm doing farm-based stuff, went from
Yeah.
equine to farm-based. And yeah, it's a nightmare. And even the heat, like,
Yeah.
there are times when it's just too hot. It's too hot for the livestock and it's too hot for the clients. So yeah, having an inside option is really, really important. And I cannot stress that enough. If people are thinking about setting up an outdoor practice, not only does it impact, your business, but the clients need continuity of care. So if we have to cancel sessions for weeks at a time, that's not good. So, and a lot of those clients, the reason they're doing outdoor options is because the indoor options haven't worked in the past, or for whatever reason they aren't a good fit. So for having the dogs indoors is definitely a great bridging for that.
And it's great for this human as well, because I'm out in that stuff and it could be like 36 degrees and 90% humidity. And I'm not a fan of the heat particularly. So now to be able to spend some time indoors is actually really quite lovely for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, relief. Yeah,
Yeah.
for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it's hard working conditions. I know that there's people that are outdoor workers
Being in the
all the time,
tropics.
but it's just hard.
The mud, the
Hard.
flies, the mosquitoes, and
Oh, the
like you said,
bugs. Yeah.
Sam, the animals, and that's a big part of my role, is to advocate for my animals and make sure that they're supported. So generally I only work till like 10 o'clock in the morning, and then I'll go back again about 3, so that they get time, to go and do horsey things or whatever they need to do. So that's a really big component of my work, is making sure that all of my animals are really supported, and it's not about me and about my clients. Like, I tough out the shitty conditions, but I want my animals to be really safe and supported and regulated, which then flows onto my clients as well.
Yeah, and the whole picture is that it's got to be balanced for everybody. So
Yeah.
if our livestock's like, I don't know if people have got much experience with livestock, but if it's hot, they just stand in the shade and swat flies
Yeah.
off themselves. So, or like the goats, like they'll just go and chill in the shade. So it's not really, yeah, there's not much going on. So
Yeah. Yeah.
like in the rain, like it's been raining for 2 days here now, and the animals are just under their shelters, staying around, munching on hay. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
we're not going out there. Like,
Yeah. I don't even want to go. I'm feeling a bit precious now though, having an indoor space, because I'm like, oh, what, I have to go and work out in that stuff right now. So that's proving a little bit challenging, finding balance for me, because I do enjoy the aircon now.
Well, I've mentioned on the pod a couple of times that when I get a new client, that someone who's referred them or themselves has said they absolutely must be able to have access to all these animals, or they won't engage or whatever. It's actually not that many sessions that I need to do that, when I've got an inside room here with dogs in it. And so, like, a large majority of clients, like, they graduate to like wanting to be inside anyway. And I think it's probably for the same reason, like, chill out
Yes.
on the couch, like, with these dogs. But that's what I'm aiming for, like, anyways, to get them to a point where they don't need to be outdoors. But in saying that, I've certainly got a group of clients as well that absolutely still need to be outdoors and have had to for years, like, and will
Yeah.
need to for longer.
And do you
More
have to then obviously, I mean, I suppose cancel or reschedule those sessions in particular
sometimes,
then?
yeah, sometimes here and there it's all right, we can get through it, but there are some that it's, yeah, it's best just to reschedule. But like, weeks and weeks of rain at a time is no good for anyone. So especially
And I
because
found that same thing through my work, is that what I noticed is that people really liked being outside because I hadn't had great experiences being in indoor settings. And that was my own lived experience with my mental health journey, was being inside was not conducive to a whole lot. And I recently had autism testing last year, and I was stuck in an office for like 25 hours of testing, I think it was. And it was just so overwhelming. And I was like, there wasn't even a window at some point. So I was like, it reminded me of the bonus and the necessity to be outside. I can see your face, Sam. Like
25 hours.
it was like over like time, obviously, but it was quite grueling and it was intense. And then it just reminded me of the importance of my work and why being outdoors is really supportive. And then people are starting to now transition, and I've got clients going, can we just do office stuff with the dog while the weather's yucky, and then we'll transition back out to nature when it cools down a little bit. So I've tried to bring as much nature indoors as I can. So I've got plants, and I've got, branches and things from the paddock that, keep people supported in that way. And we've got windows that look out over the hills here as well. So I still try to bring nature as much as I can. So, and the office space literally was something that happened about 5 weeks ago. It wasn't really on my radar. Same thing as the dog, not really on my radar. And then I'm like, oh, this thing keeps showing up on Facebook. Maybe I need to have a look at this, because I was like, how does this work? Now I have a dog, but where do I work with her still to provide safety for people? And sometimes initially it was just like, we'll catch up at a cafe and have a coffee, but we couldn't really talk about things, obviously for privacy reasons. And then this space came up, and then I think I got approved on the Monday. Tuesday, I went shopping for office furniture. Thursday, I had it set up. Friday, I had my first client. So it was typical Mel style. It all just happens quickly. I don't question it. I just do it and go, cool, now we'll figure it all out.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. It's very exciting. So talk us through puppy school. You got the puppy, joined puppy school.
Yeah. Did you already hear about Therapy Dogs Australia? Did you already know before getting Pascal?
Yeah, so I had seen it on Facebook a lot, and I think I'd listened to some podcasts. So it was kind of like it was planted in the background, it was like it was just waiting for the perfect moment for it to all happen. So I had actually pre-ordered Pascal before she'd even arrived, and then I just picked her intuitively. I saw photos and I was like, oh, I like this one because it's a male color, and I wanted a male color. And then I went, no, it's this little black fur ball thing over here. And I had actually signed up for puppy school and sort of started that process happening before I had even picked Pascal up. So I drove down to Brisbane to pick her up. So it was all kind of ready to go as soon as I came back, because if I decide to do something, it's happening. Like there's no anything's going to get in the road. So yeah, we started that from the very get-go. And initially I was a bit like, oh, hearing these words and this good girl thing and stuff, I'm like, how do I put that into practice? So I think for the first little bit I was just like, let's just have the puppy and we'll do the things. And after a couple of months then I started feeling a little bit more confident about how to implement this, because I've never trained a dog to this standard as such. I've owned staffies. It's like they can sit and that's about all they can do. There's no manners. Like my partner has our staffies in Mount Isa, and they have no manners. They're just dogs that just cause all kinds of chaos, and they're older now. So it's sort of like, okay, we're past that with them. But then to have this dog that's trained to this standard, and obviously it's not, as Sam says, it's not flashy. Sometimes she's flashy, but then other times it can be a bit of chaos. But that's kind of life as well. So that resembles what's happening for a lot of people too, is when Pascal's doing her wild stuff, it's like, well, we all feel a bit wild as well. So yeah, I followed that program all the way through puppy, and then went into adolescent. I got on all of the calls every week and every fortnight unless I was at uni. And it was so good hearing other people's experiences, because I'm like going, I don't know what I'm doing up here. And I heard all this socializing, everyone's got this pressure. You need to get your dog out, but you can't because it hasn't had its needles. But then hearing, I can take it in the back of my ute and I can go and sit somewhere with her and just see people going past, or, the things that I could do to support that for her. But in saying that, I'm also a bit of a don't do too much kind of person. Like everyone's like, oh, you've done so much. I'm like, have I really? Because I've learned that little bits is better than trying to push to get something straight away.
Yeah.
So it's been quite a journey, and it was doing really well, and then it would go sideways. And that was the great part about having the Zoom calls, that we could get on and go, I've got this thing, and I could show a video and go, hey, what do I do with this? Oh, she's just a puppy, and that's okay. Like, it's nothing to sort of be worried about. So having that constant contact through that whole time of our journey was really, really supportive. And then obviously having access to the dog father, I had Michael, I think when Pascal was about 5 months old, I started working with him, and I would do one-on-one sessions with him to refine our things and find where our gaps were, and then the things we needed to work on better. And then I would just take that out to the paddock and teach her this stuff as a lifestyle thing, not as something that is just so we pass the assessment, that it's like you've got to be there for 3 minutes and that's all I care for. So now she can go to the paddock and she can stay at a gate if I ask her to stay at the gate, and she'll wait until I ask her to come through. So that's all helpful stuff when things are happening with horses, or what's happening at the farm. And that can be flexible, because sometimes it's like, cool, just go through the gate, I don't really care. And then other times it's like, no, you need to stand here and just wait for a second.
What a good girl.
Most of the time. Sometimes it doesn't always work, but that's life, isn't it?
Were there any
That
sort
is
of
life.
unique challenges that you went through in particular with Pascal in that adolescent phase?
I think, and it's something that still is there for us at the moment, and I know it's something that's assessed as, does she enjoy meeting people? She's like, a heck yes. I'm trying to not swear, because she's just like, oh yes, I like people. So that has a bit of a flip side for us, because it can show up as she gets in a doorway of somewhere and she's like running at the ground, like, let me at the people. So that's a bit of a problem thing for us, and we're just working on, when my son comes over or something, because there's lots of, I just put her on the lead now, and I just walk her around until she kind of goes, okay, it's not a big deal now. And then we have places like Bunnings. There's one staff member that sees her, and Pascal just loses her mind. And for me, that's we don't even care. We just let you do your thing over there. But then she behaves with everyone else. So it's like she knows that that lady is, we're allowed to do whatever the hell we want, sort of thing.
For additional context, so Pascal's only just over 12 months. 13?
Still a baby.
Should be 13 months old.
13 months.
Yeah.
So still really young. So one of the things that might surprise people is that it'll really die down.
Yeah.
That like keenness. And that's the reason that we try not to dampen it too much when they're little, because it settles down and then you'll want it back. So then we try not to squash it too much. So I just did the same thing with Penny, who's our staffish, who'd be about 18 months now, and just use the lead when people arrive, because she just want to jump on people and all that sort of stuff. Just use the lead so she can't do it. And now, like, I'd say probably for the last month, she's just able to manage that. Like, she doesn't need her lead on anymore. And she just, even actually our neighbors came up the driveway yesterday. They came for a visit, and I was like, all right, I'm going to open the gate. It was raining. I was like, I'm going to open the gate. So just watch, this little black dog's probably going to jump on you. So just be aware. I open the gate. There's 3 dogs there, all excited. Kiki's right at the front gate as well. She's in the goat yard. She's carrying on, hollering. Losing them. Everyone's so excited that these guests are here. And I opened the gate. Penny just went out there all excited and didn't jump. And I was like, oh. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. But I think she's about that age, like, where she actually can control that now. So if I had have like put a lot of like redirecting or a lot of correcting on that, instead of just preventing her from being able to do it, like, let her feel all the feelings when the guests arrive, be excited, be happy, carrying on like an idiot at the end of the lead, let her feel all of that, and then it'll subside, like she'll calm down, and then she gets to go and say hello. But I like to like let the dog work through that themselves, rather than me telling them like, sit down, like, sit. I just let her be happy and excited and all that stuff, because I still want her to feel happy and excited when people arrive, because as they get older, if you dampen it down too much, I think that's when that's when they're like too calm or too neutral to meeting new people. And our clients don't want their dogs to be neutral to them. This is something that's quite different to pet dog training. Like pet dog trainers, we hear that be like, what? What? But we actually don't want the dogs to be neutral when they meet people. We want them to be excited and initiate contact and all that sort of stuff. So I think she'll settle down.
Yeah. And I think it's important too that clients see that she's happy to see them. And
That's what I mean.
and then I just have her on a lead. We're in the office space now. I just have her on a lead, and I've just sort of set the tone with clients and go, look, she's going to be a little bit crazy, and we'll just wait until she settles. And then when she settles, then I let her off the lead, and then I release her and go, okay, now you can go, because you're not being a complete crazy lady, because she'll jump all over the brand new couch and like chuck zoomies everywhere. Like if I let her, that's exactly what would happen. So now I'm just teaching her how to regulate her emotions, which then translates to working with clients that are often coming because they're struggling with that same thing. So it's like, okay, what can we do to support Pascal? And that also supports ourselves.
Actually, now that you mentioned that, I'm reminded that so a lot of my clients have been here while I've had her on the lead, and like because the whole like if we go inside to the dogs, there's 3 dogs in there, so the whole routine was just let me catch the little black one, and then I'm gonna put her lead on. I'll put her lead on, and I'm just gonna stand over there, and then you can greet these dogs as because I don't want the client to be like for me to be like, okay, keep all the energy calm, like keep the dogs calm, because the other 2 dogs don't need that. Like they can be excited and happy that someone's here and behave themselves. So then I'd like stand off, have Penny on the lead. She'd be like, ah, losing her mind. Wait for it to calm down. But what's been fun is to hear the clients saying, like over the last 12 months, saying, good job, Penny. Like, oh, that was good. That was good. And like now that she's like not jumping, like I've had clients say, like, oh, no lead anymore. Like, oh, good girl, Penny. Like stuff like that.
Involved in her training.
Yeah, like really cool for them to see like the longer term thing as well of like, I just got to help her through this bit. Like she needs me to help her. And any clients where it was like that, that's not a part of, it's not helpful or anything. I've got a crate in there. I'll just put her in the crate, and then you don't have to do that stuff. But yeah, it's been fun to sort of hear the comments coming of like, oh, good job, Penny. Like, wow, you're doing good, Penny. Like,
and in some ways I can imagine it, like, depending on what you're working through, but it immediately takes the attention off of them too. Like it sort of breaks the ice, and it just probably relaxes everyone when seeing Penny's progress.
And when you let her go, she's straight over there. She's straight over to the and she's head on their lap. Like she just lays with them, or she'll sit on their feet, sitting on their feet, like, I'm a good girl. And or she's bringing them the toy, wants to play with the toy. She's everyone's favorite dog. Everyone's favorite dog. So that first couple of minutes of the greeting, if you skip that, like as in if you create neutrality in that moment, I think that you're going to regret it later. In terms of like, I think that you're going to reduce the engagement, because I don't want the dog neutral to the client arriving. I want the dog excited that the client's arriving and trying to initiate and engage the client. So I think you just got to use, so what we're talking about is management strategies and response prevention. So the lead is your management strategy, and response prevention is you don't just let the dog jump all over the client, because that's self-reinforcing. So then they just are going to work themselves up more and more and more. And then that behavior will become a practiced behavior, and you will have to correct it to fix it later. Whereas if you do response prevention using your management, lead on, have the dog where the dog literally cannot reach the client and jump up on them, that's going to prevent the dog from self-reinforcing and for that behavior becoming an established pattern. But also they get to still just be excited. I don't actually want to calm them down. If you've got a dog that's older, like, so we're talking about our dogs, mine and Mel's dogs, as they were young and still young. If you've got a dog that's 5 and is still jumping on people to greet them, that's different. This is a different thing. They have not grown out of
Mm.
it. They're probably self-reinforced the whole time, and now we've got a problem. So
And it's amazing
join
how
school.
it's amazing how quickly that supports them as well, because like I just sit on my chair in the office and I give Pascal enough space that she can get towards the client, but she can't actually touch them. And so she flips around and does her thing, and then she goes, oh, okay, I just sit here. And then I just sort of secretly unclip her lead so I don't make a big deal out of it, just to get her to stay for that little bit longer. And then I go free, and then she goes, oh, cool, I get to go now. And then she's chill enough that she's still excited to see them, and she jumps up on the couch and
Yeah.
wants to cuddle into them, but she's just not completely using the couch as a berm and, tearing around like a crazy, and watching her like get cushions and stuff, so she'll
Yeah.
rearrange the couch and all the things. So and I have clients, I've got some clients that are open to jumping, cuddling, licking, and then I've got some clients that are like, it's a no-go zone. So then we're
Yeah.
teaching them how to do that with Pascal and to set their own boundaries as well, because I don't want it to be, I'm going to set all the rules and the undertone of this. You also need to be able to set your own boundaries of what's okay and not okay with her. And even now, seeing Pascal, she'll be up on the couch for half an hour and then she'll just go and lay on the couch at their feet. So I can see already that that's really supporting her to be able to go, okay, I get to do all of this fun, loving stuff. But then when I've actually had enough, I can just lay down here and I don't have to be a big deal anymore.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yes.
Do you
Very
find that
good.
same with you, Sam, in terms of because I don't think we've talked about that on the podcast, allowing your clients to also set the boundary as well. Like that's so interesting, Mel, talking about, some are gonna like licking and some don't. How that happens? Like, do they just say no and then you support the dog to make sure that they follow through on that? Or that's so interesting.
It is interesting. Depends on the client. So the client group that I work with can really struggle with their verbal communication and absolutely struggle with help seeking and self-advocacy. So it is important that I'm always like watching body language of the client, because they're also not always communicating in a way you would expect with the body language either. Like
True.
there's also some hidden messages there too. So I check in, but also even checking in doesn't mean that I'm going to get their true experience reported to me as well. So there's certain groups of behaviors, like there's stuff that's just on the no-no list. That's, dogs jumping on people and stuff like that, where they're like can get hurt, like that's just, I just don't allow it. So if the dogs, so if you work with 3 dogs in one room, they rev each other up. Like we get a lot more arousal, which I like, but you definitely need to have trained each dog individually and have worked with each dog as an individual as well, because my voice control is across all the dogs, because it always is. But yeah, they individually know what the rules are as well. So a client can try and like set a boundary, like if my for example, my cease and desist word is that's enough. So if the client was to say that to the dogs, it would be a 50-50, I think, chance of whether or not the dogs are gonna be like, okay,
yes, yeah,
little kid, So yeah, I usually get them to set the boundary, but with me, and then
your tone of voice will sort of manage whatever they've
I
said.
make sure that I make sure the dogs respect their boundaries. But yeah, them setting, so they can, it depends what kind of dog you've got and what type of client you've got and stuff like that. I did have a situation, so when the dogs are like high arousal and stuff like that, sometimes there's a presentation of client that can get overwhelmed by that. So just really interesting. There's a real push and pull with some people. I don't know if you've seen this, Mel. There's a real push and pull with some people where they really want to be around. You would see it actually with the horses too, Mel. They
Yeah.
want to be around these animals, but they're scared of them.
Okay. Yeah. Mm.
You know, like, and so they have this push and pull of like, they want they want to be here and they want to be around this, but they are scared in the moment and they're apprehensive. And when people get apprehensive and scared, especially if it's a like a nervous type of person, for whatever reason, they will often do things that make it worse. So, for
Yeah.
example,
Can almost feel like a game to the dog, maybe.
well, if so, for example, this doesn't really happen inside, but if you were to run away because you were scared, you're getting chased by the dog.
Yeah.
Like 100%, you get my horses will chase you if you run away. So don't do
Will
that.
they? Will your
Mine
horses
will.
chase?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was going to
Yeah.
say I get a different response with my horses, which is interesting
Mine
because
are
my
hooligans.
horses, because I've actually had that happen a few times where people are like, oh my God, I love horses, blah, blah, blah. And then we might go out into the paddock and then you just see them go, holy fuck, that horse is huge. Because I've got like a 16 3-hand horse. He comes over and if he chooses you, like he's all in your space sort of thing. And he's super gentle and kind. But you see people just freeze. And then obviously the horse is then going, but you're saying that you like me, but then when I'm near you, you're going, no, I don't. And he will just walk off. He'll be like, meh, okay,
Oh.
fine. And then that can be a learning tool then as well of like what's happening for you in that moment of when, because I noticed something going on. And then that teaches that client to check in with what's actually happening. Do you actually really like horses or do you like the idea of a horse? And same with the dog. Do you like dogs or do you like the idea? And I remember, Sam, you talked a lot about in the training and on all the podcasts I've listened to about, working with people, and I've just completely lost it now. It's just gone. So I'm just going to leave it there because I'm like, brain
It'll
went.
come back. It'll come back because I'll keep going on that thread.
Yeah.
I've got, so my big paddock, like it's not a big paddock, but my bigger paddock, it's got 4 Brumbies in it. And they're territorial, but they're also super, super social, super social. So if they see something down in their paddock, they are running to go and check it out and look at it, which is it's been really good. It's a great security system because I just put a sign on the fence that says wild horses in the paddock. Like, don't. So if you just walk through there, you'd be like, I'm absolutely about to get attacked by all these horses. But they're super friendly. They're really, really friendly. So they run down to be like, hello. Like they'll check out a threat, but they like run down and they're like, hello. So the neighbor that I had come over yesterday, they've got a teenager and she needs to do an hour a week volunteering somewhere. So she's going to volunteer at my house for some school program or whatever. Lord help her. So they mentioned something about the horses. One of them scared of horses or something. And I said, yeah, I was mentioning to them, don't run. If you go in the paddock, don't run in the paddock. Because they ran, we went and said hello to the goats. And the sister, we were like, when and like so Kiki was in there, we're like patting the goats. Kiki loves it, right? She's so happy. And then she went to like put her umbrella. I don't know. Kids are so funny. They just do the funniest stuff.
Yes.
We're all standing like in the goat shelter. It's raining. And she just like ran away back to the gate. And I was like, what's happening? But she like ran to the gate to put the umbrella down at the gate and then like to come back. But there's just no need for it. And just out of nowhere, she ran. And if you run around Kiki, she's getting you. Like, so Kiki, so she starts running. Kiki's chasing her. I'm like, what is happening? Like, Kiki's gonna bowl this kid over for sure. And then we're like, what are you doing? And she's like, she just puts the umbrella down. And her mom's like, what are you doing? And I said to her, don't run back. Don't run back. Just walk back.
My horses are a little lazier sounding than yours, Sam, because mine are just like, oh yeah, just swan on in, look at the time, like, oh yeah, we'll be there shortly, sort of. But I've got a couple of older horses, and then I've got a yearling as well, so I've got a bit of a variety. Although the yearling does like to come racing down, and she's a Shire cross horse, so she's a big horse. So when she comes running, it's quite like, okay, everyone just get out of the way.
Yeah, if I ever take kids out into the paddock, I will only take people out there if I know they can handle my
That,
instructions, which are don't run. Like, because people get a fright.
yeah,
And if I run, those horses will think that you're playing with them and they'll
yeah,
just start running. And I'm like, don't run through the paddock. Just
Yeah.
stay with me. If we yeah. Anyway, so because what we're talking about there is like advocacy and boundaries with animals and stuff like that. So
Mm.
the personality like is a thing. So during the process of teaching Penny not to jump, I'd have certain people that'd be like, all right, do you want to help me with this? You know, da da da. We help train the dog. People can do funny things that actually encourage dogs jumping up, even though they don't want that. So one thing I did teach people is like, if don't bend down to pat her, because when you bend down, if she does jump, you're going to get head butted and that hurts. But if for whatever reason she does jump, like if I've misjudged it, take the lead off too early or whatever, just use your hands like
yeah,
and block her like that. You don't need to do anything else because they'll do funny things. So people will do things like just turn around and let dogs jump on them. Like
mm,
that's what they've been taught. And I'm like, we're not doing that. Gonna be doing that. But yeah, just block her, like things like that. So I'll talk certain people through certain things, but essentially I'm not gonna like let things happen and be
yeah,
like, stand off yourself.
yeah. And that's that part too is, and like you said, Sam,
They're
about
on the
watching.
ground, like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, get up.
Try again.
And like you said, Sam, it's that watching all of those cues, being able to see what's happening. Like it's our job to be watching all of those signals of our client and our dog and the space and being able to intercept where needed, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's a huge part for me. And I'm always saying to people, look, it's up to you to set your boundaries. But if I can see that their boundaries are not so bloody great, or they've tried and Pascal's going, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, mate, then I'll sort of be like, come on, let's get on your mat. Or, just she's got a mellow mat in the paddock in the office now because I've got one of that. She thinks that's the best thing. Why would you have a normal mat that we've trained her on when you can just lay on a mellow mat and rub yourself
what's a
all
mellow
through?
mat?
What's a mellow mat?
They're those sensory, like the reboundy kind of mats that are soft and squishy. It's kind of like a
Oh,
sensory
I think I
mat.
know what you're talking about.
So
Yes.
it's
I've never heard
like,
of
They use
them.
them for kids and things too, don't they?
yes, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So it's like 3 meters by 2 meters, and it's probably,
Yes.
I don't know, 20 mil thick, and it sort of like
Oh,
rebounds, and it's soft and
The
silky and
best
I
fluffy.
know
thing
what you're
ever.
talking. I know what you're talking
Yes.
Yeah.
about.
So
Yeah.
Pascal, like her version of a mat now is a 3 meter by 2 meter, soft, fluffy, and you watch her and she just rubs all through it. And, and it's great because people then actually get down on the ground with her, and quite often we'll end up sitting on the floor on this mat and being super comfy. So she's like, oh, I've got the best job here. I've got a brand new couch that I can climb all over. Mum's got a nice big comfy chair that I can climb on. I've got this mat. She doesn't think much of my herbal tea. I don't think she's like, yeah, not up for that stuff, but she's got a pretty good life when she's in the office now, which is, yeah, lovely to see.
Mm, mm.
Little office princess.
Yes, and you've seen the photos of her up on the brand new navy blue couch, and then she's on my pink chair, and she just thinks she owns the place. I say to people, that thing of, I thought having a dog, I grew up with working dogs that were in kennels outside, like as a young person. It was like, and they're there for a job, and they get fed and they get water, and that's it. So then to have this dog that sleeps with me, like she's crate trained and she will go in the crate, but she generally sleeps with me. She likes to shower with me. If I go to the bathroom, she's with me. Like she literally get in the shower with you, like, and she stands there just chewing at the water, but she literally does most things. Oh, she's hilarious. Like if I could video those things, I would. But she's literally most times where I go, like she's with me all the time. So it's such a different way of having a dog, and I'm so grateful for having the dog trainer that set those foundations and being able to work alongside your program as well, of how that's allowed, because I didn't ever imagine that we'd be certified, prior to her being one, and then being able to do this work with people. Because when I first, like 6 months old, I'm going, what the heck have I done? She is a complete lunatic. How are we ever going to be? And I remember, Sam, you saying in the early stages, don't get too hung up that you're going to get a certified therapy dog because it might go to shit and it might not happen. And I'm like, I will show you. And then I kind of showed you anyway, because it was like we got such a good score. So I was like, see, you don't know me well enough if I say I'm going to get something done.
Okay, well, that sounds like it was a personal attack, Mel. Calm down.
I will show you. And that's why I engaged a dog trainer so early. And I remember saying to people on the calls is because they were like, how's Mel doing so well with her stuff? Because she's got a younger
I don't
dog.
remember anyone saying that.
Of course not. And that's where I said to people, I had a dog trainer, like I think working with a dog trainer and the program sort of side by side is going to get you the best outcome.
Yes, I agree.
Because, like I
Yep.
could have tried doing that all on my own. And then when we had hurdles, I could have been teaching her, like I can come and talk to you guys, but then having someone that can show me in real time and having, being neurodiverse, I need someone to show me in a way that, not just hearing, I need to see how it's done. And I think that's a big part of that is having the dog father and you guys together to now have what we have here. And it's not always great. Like sometimes it's a complete train wreck, and then other days it's a lot better, and we just manage that as best we can.
So Mel, because you obviously got really, really good marks, like well done again. How did you have a sort of routine in terms of training Pascal, or were you just taking kind of, week by week? Or, I'm sure our listeners would be interested to know how you got such good marks.
It's funny you say that. You can't see my
Surprising
t-shirt.
everybody.
You can't see my t-shirt that I have on, but it says chaos coordinator, and that's kind of how my life runs. It's like just chaos all day, and somehow on the outside I look like I've got all my shit together, and behind the scenes I'm just going ding 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 bar all over the place. And that was kind of like what my dog training looked like at stages, and even still now. But that's how I train my horses too. I tend to be a bit more hands off than all over it all the time. And so, there might be, because I go away for uni and I, have been away to events and stuff, and I could be away for 2 weeks and my dog's in the dog kennel, and I'd be like, oh my God, what am I going to come home to? Because they just get to party the whole time, it seems like.
Wreak havoc.
She comes home and she's exhausted, like she's like, oh, sleep for 2 days. So there was parts of it that was really structured, and then it would just go to shit sort of thing. So I found, because, and I would just use the little snippets of time that I had, like I might record 5 minutes of me doing something in the hallway at home, and then I'd send it to the dog father and go, what do you think of this? Or, and it was just little moments that I could capture things, but it was never like, oh, I've got to do this training all like every day for an hour. It was just like, okay, let's go for a walk, and we're going to work today on you walking next to me and not needing to sniff every bloody thing that's down the road. Or it would be, okay, we're going to go to Bunnings today, and I'm going to have a coffee and a piece of toast. And so it became my social outing. And then it would be like, okay, let's go and sit near the cafe where all the kids are screaming and there's stuff going on. And all I need you to do is just sit on this mat for a little bit, and then we'll go again. So I tried to utilize society, I guess, because I like being at home on my own. So it was like, how can I do little things? Okay, I got to go to Bunnings. I'll take the dog with me, and we'll have a coffee and just chill out for a little bit as well. So I was just trying to find snippets of time in amongst my chaos to be able to go, when we do it, we're going to do a good job. Bunnings can be a double-edged sword because it can be really helpful, but then there's lots of people that are like, oh my God, the dog. And I'm like, can't you see she's sitting on a mat? And that's kind of because I'm training her. And now she's just like lost her mind because you've come over to her. So that was tricky, but also helpful, because then it showed me the gaps that we had of like, she gets really excited. So how do we manage that, So, and then I would use things like those safety steps in Bunnings where I taught her that as a place. So I'd ask her to go and hop up on one of those steps, put the lead down on the ground, and then people would walk past, and then I'd ask her to free, and then we'd have a run around and play with the toys and stuff like that. So I was just trying to utilize what was around me rather than kind of trying to be really structured. I did sort of one-on-one with the dog father as much as I could in the initial stages. Then I progressed into his weekly classes, and we were going a couple of times a week. And then as the assessment time was coming up, I did a few more one-on-ones just to kind of make sure that, and he's like, you've got this, like, don't worry about it. Like, you could go now, sort of thing. I'm like, oh no, not now. And then at our assessment time, Pascal decided to be in season. So not only did we do all of this stuff, but we actually did our assessments when she decided to come in heat. So that added another layer, and still
Wow.
to get the results that we got with all of that going on as well was pretty cool. So
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. So it
yeah,
sounds like you know, sort of were quite clear on the goal each time that you went out. You kept it quite simple. Like there was one clear thing that you were focusing on.
yeah,
You just did it consistently, but in bits.
Like find
yeah,
a goal. Like,
yeah,
yeah, go out. It
and
sounds like it, like you go out with the dog, and then when you're out with the dog, find a goal
yeah.
and yeah, make it a bit more purposeful, but not have like a pre-prepared
Yeah, it wasn't like I had
plan.
a 7 day structure of like, okay, this day we're going to do this. Because, in my mind, 9 times out of 10, when I go, today we're doing this, then it turns to shit and then we have a really crappy learning outcome. So, like today, it might be I'm going to put witches' hats out in my front yard because that's where I've got space, but also because there's kids going past, there's cars going past, whatever's happening in the world. And then I would practice our walking around the cones and sitting at the cone and then just, doing that sort of stuff there. And that was me utilizing what was around me in the 10 minutes that I had before I had to run out the door again. So it was just whenever I could capture some time. I never had a structured plan other than when I was going to the dog father classes. And then, yeah, and then we ended up getting canine ambassador with the dog father at the start of this year for our work. He was a little bit sneaky about that because he's like, oh, can I put a post up about you guys? And I was like, yeah, sure. And then we got an award. So to get that as well from him was, a fairly big accolade, because I don't think he throws that stuff out just to anyone, and he said it's all that work that we've put in. Although, and I'd say to him sometimes, he'd be like, so you've been doing all your homework? And I'd be like, no, she's been in the kennels for 2 weeks. So I never knew what was going to happen with her, but I just learned to accept whatever came along with it, and then we would work through our gaps or the things that were missing.
And it sounds like also you normalized training her with so many distractions.
Mm,
So that
yeah,
just became like normal for her almost, was that you were always out and about and
yeah,
in the
yeah,
real world. And I think that is probably a really big key part of why she's just able to, and well, both of you passed with flying colors, is just that normalcy in the real world. Yeah, it would
yeah.
have made a massive difference.
And I remember that thing of Sam saying, like, we're training them for a lifestyle, not to pass the test. So that was something that really stuck in my head. Being autistic, you say that thing, and I go, righto, that's the rule. The rule's parked here, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to do it for 5 minutes. I'm going to do it for 8, because I want to make sure that we're actually doing it for achieving something. And that's why it's great having the farm, because I take her out there and there could be other horses running around and there's distractions of things, there's people and cars and whatever. So it was kind of like that was just her lifestyle. And some days she does really good, and even still now there's days that she's really great, and then other days I just have a long line for her now, so she gets a bit of freedom. And then if she doesn't come back, I can pop correct her, come back here, you didn't listen to me. And so that's our work that we're doing at the moment, is
Mm.
that getting her recall, because she, like, there's birds and things at the paddock, so it's like, okay, you're getting distracted, pop if you don't come back, and then she'll come back. So that's the thing that we're working on now, that's a little bit different to what we are doing, for our assessments.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that you're using a lead, because if she's in that environment, so what Mel's talking about is the paddocks where she has her horses. That's an environment that Pascal's going to be in. So if she does learn, and yeah, there are expectations of such a young dog, I'll touch on as well. But if she does learn, I don't have to listen here and there's nothing you can do about it,
Mm,
that's a really, really reinforcing environment to go and just chase things and cause a ruckus and all that sort of stuff. So for her to be able to go down there while Mel's working and not have to be tied up all the time or on the lead all the time, she has to not learn that, because that environment will she'll learn this environment is where I can do whatever I want to get away with it. Because the other thing is when you're trying to watch a client and horses and manage all of that, you can't
No.
watch the dog the whole time, and you also can't leave to go and catch the dog because you can't leave a client with the horses. So
Yeah.
it's a really challenging scenario where if the dog's not ready, and she's not because she's only young, she's not ready for that level of challenge, then that well, then we just don't do it. Like
Mm.
and like what Mel's saying, have her on the lead because she is just young. And I just want to mention to other people that have got young dogs out there, Pascal's pretty good for her age. Like she handled Mel's plan and training well.
Mm.
Some dogs you could do the exact same thing as Mel and they just won't handle it because they're not maturing the same way. The other thing is like you did choose like a public space like Bunnings, but it's the same Bunnings. So
Mm.
even though that was a new space and there was distractions and stuff like that for Pascal, just be mindful, guys, if you're listening along and you've got like a 6, 8 month old dog, you're like, okay, every day I'm going somewhere different with the dog to train them. You're probably not ready for that.
Okay. Mm.
Stand like so if you put too much impulse control, too much rules and stuff like that when they're young, actually can't really follow that. It's like kids actually
Mm.
can't follow all of those rules just yet, and to sort of force it on a dog that's maturing a bit more slowly, you're gonna end up with issues with your relationship and issues with the training being all about like no fun, rather than we're going out in the big wide world to see what's out there for us. I hope it's Pats. Like,
Mm.
this is going to be great. We don't want it to be, we don't want to like flatten the dogs. But if you've got a spicy little dog
Mm.
like Pascal who could handle it, then that's different again. And I think that's coming back to your point, Mel, about having a face-to-face dog trainer and being in our program.
Yeah.
Like I know Pascal quite well. Mike from the dog father knows her well.
Yeah.
So like, and I know Mike. So,
Yeah.
we've got this like little group of support people that are, helping you along the way on your journey. And it does make a difference when you've got other decision makers there to give you input too,
Yeah.
as opposed to if people are out there trying to do it all by themselves without the support and without someone that knows the dog or knows you and knows the dog.
Yeah.
Because the advice that we give is going to be different for, little Pascal that's 13 months old now versus another dog that we've been working with that's 13 months old that's nowhere near ready for some of that stuff. And if we force it, then we're going to end up, like regretting it. So we need to make sure that we're taking all of that on board as well. I'm just mentioning that for our listeners' sake so that they know about that. And if you are in the Townsville area, I mean, go and see Mike at the Dog
He's
Father.
amazing.
He's great. So if you're whatever age dog, if people are training it, if you're not in our area, just like contact us about what trainers we know in your area too. If you're thinking, oh, I should get a face-to-face trainer as well, just contact us because I'll let you know who's in your area that I can recommend.
And it's that whole thing of having that village around you too, because, like I said, I've had staffies prior and their training and their skills are not that great. So for me, it was like, okay, who can I surround myself that can support me? And having Therapy Dogs Australia to do, those check-ins and like be able to share videos or see other people's videos, because I learned really well from seeing other people's and going, oh, okay, that's how you did that. Or, oh, your dog responds differently to mine. And then being able to have someone in person that I could go, because it's easy to do a video and go, look at my dog, she's doing all
Yeah.
the right things, and then not necessarily being honest and going, actually, it's a fucking train wreck behind the scenes. Whereas I can't hide that when I take my dog to a trainer
Yeah.
because she's going to do all the things because he's got his dogs there or she's excited to see him and it's a new space. So it's like I can come on and make it look all perfect and amazing, but that doesn't get you anywhere either. Like it's like I got to come to you with the nitty-gritty crap that's going on that I'm like, this is not great and it looks really terrible and I'm embarrassed and I'm ashamed of like, whatever. But then I think that's where that honesty of like, well, this is actually what's really happening, because I can sugarcoat it and make it all great. But I go to my dog trainer and he'll be like, oh, that's not great. And we never really had any bad stuff, but it was just, okay, we need to refine that just so that we've got that nailed, sort of thing. So
I think
yeah,
it
the
feels
village is super important.
I think it feels validating too, like when you have a trainer, like when I have my horse trainer around and I'm like, I just want you to look at this horse because this is happening. And then the horse does the thing that
Mm,
I
yeah,
like have described, and she's like, oh, so this is what you're seeing, and I'm like, yes, this
yeah.
exact thing that they're doing right now is what I'm seeing. Which with my one of my Brumbies on last week, I noticed that she's like not turning right, like when I ride
Mm,
her, like, but sometimes she is, but then sometimes she's really not, like, and she's like really pushing the other way. And so I was like, I'm just going to get my trainer to look at this to help me because my trainer's also does massage and all that sort of stuff. She's very holistic. So I was like, I'm just going to get her to have a look at this because I'm just not sure why that's happening. And I'm just going to get an expert, another set of eyes, make sure that there's nothing wrong with her, but also that I'm like handling it the right way. And so then, and she's such a good, like well-behaved horse too. Like she's a good
Mm.
girl. And so she's like being a good girl, being a good girl. And then she did it, and my trainer was like, ah. Ah. And I was like, yeah. Hmm. But you just spend that time with them and then find out like, okay, so there's nothing wrong with her. She's just this is just something that she's
First turn left.
doing. Like,
yeah.
yeah, she just wants to turn
Zoolander
left.
effect. Yeah.
So, and then a few tips on, okay, so when she does that, do this. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, it can be something like pretty much what I was already doing. So it can be something that you're already doing, but having that other set of eyes to have a look at it and like, something she knows me, she knows my horse, she knows Brumbies, that sort of thing, then that I think is, I know what to do. I'm not
Yeah.
questioning because one of my things is I'll like be questioning. Like, and I find that people, when something's not going to plan, so she's going to keep doing that for
Mm,
however long until she lets it go.
yeah.
Like, that's not fixed. Like,
Yeah.
I just have a plan for how to fix it. But what I would do if I was left to my own devices is I would start a session and have a plan of like how I'm going to respond when she does it, and then I would change the plan. I'll be
Yeah.
like, it's not working, and I'll change the plan, and I'll be like, oh, it's not working, and change the plan, and change the plan, change the plan. I'm bad for that. So when something's not going directly, like exactly how you imagined it, it can be really hard to stick with a plan that
Mm,
looks like it's not working, but it is working. It just takes longer than like one day for
yeah.
these things. So that's one thing for me, like getting a trainer in to have a look and go, okay, so, and now I have a plan. I know I'll stick to it because she told me to do that.
And because you're
That's not
because
something I made up.
and because you become accountable to the other person. Because when I'm accountable to myself,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, whatever, throw the stuff in the air. But when I know that someone has said you need to do this for X amount or consistently or whatever, and you're going to check back in with me, I'm like, oh, I better do that stuff. And even if it's a bit all over the place, at least I know that, okay, when I'm doing this thing, I've got to pop the collar, I've got to do the thing, instead of going, oh, stop it, get off me or whatever. So it's
Mm,
like, I just have that, it's just like having a weight loss coach or whatever the thing
yeah.
is that you've got somebody to go back to that goes, oh, hey, so how's that going? And you're like, do you want the truth? I used to say that to the dog father. Do you want the truth of how much work I've put in? Or do you want me to just tell you a story? And I'd just say to him, like, I've been away for 2 weeks. It's been a train wreck, but we're here and we'll do whatever. And then little Pascal would just smash it out of the park. And I'd be like, see, what am I worried about? But because we'd put the foundations in, and I think, I don't know if there's something in it because I've worked with horses for so long and I've had to train these big giant things. And I think I heard you talk about that somewhere, Sam, in podcasts about people that train horses generally do okay training a dog because we're so used to responding to energy cues and, that little bit of tension in their face, or the things that happen that, I see that in my dog. It's harder to see because she's just a big black fur ball. So some things are hard to pick with her, but most of the time, I can read those cues and catch it early enough most of the time. So
I think understanding like rope feel too. Your lead's a rope.
yeah.
Like bit of rope feel goes a long way with dog handling as well.
So maybe people should just go get some horses as well.
I do not recommend that.
If you got a dog, go get a horse and you'll learn on the fly and it'll be okay. Because that's how I do everything.
Go get some Brumbies and learn how to gentle wild horses and then break them in. And yeah.
Yeah, if you can do that, you can do
that.
anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And can I share with you the exciting news about our little pilot program that we've been doing?
Yes, actually, I forgot to mention that. Yes, tell everybody all about it.
So I was given the opportunity to run a 5-week pilot program just after we got Pascal certified as a therapy dog. And it was something that I've kind of been working on in the background, in the sense of I've tried to do it with the horses, but it's too risky and it's too scary and whatever. So we've been running a 5-week pilot program at the adolescent inpatient unit and day program here in Townsville, which is basically the mental health unit for teenagers that are disengaged or struggling with their mental health, or they're not able to go to a traditional school for all of those reasons. So I kind of pitched it and said, look, I'll come for 5 weeks. You do your clinical outcomes. I'll collect some data on my end, and I'm going to offer this for free as a trial, because I don't know what this is going to look like. I sort of threw together a bit of a program of what I thought that this could look like. I guess some backstory is I actually worked as a lived experience worker within Queensland Health for about a year, and I've worked as a lived experience worker for quite a few years on and off, and I used to run programs in there. So I always was trying to get in there in some way to go, this shit makes a difference. And the clinical model is not always like right for everyone. It wasn't right for me. So I'm a big advocate of let's try something different. So we did the 5 weeks. They did their clinical tracking. I was actually shitting my pants, to be honest, because I'm like, oh my God, I'm back in this space. Is Pascal going to behave herself? What is this actually going to look like? And even the very first week, there was a young person that becomes selectively mute, is really uncomfortable in the group space. And I had created a poster that says, how do we engage with Pascal? So they'd printed it up on the walls, and we had one in the book. And I sort of just said to everyone, would it be okay if we all read a section out of this? And I didn't know any of the backstory about anyone. We've done this. Everyone's read 2 little sections each. And then I was talking to the clinician afterwards, and they said to me, I had to leave the room. I had tears in my eyes. And I was like, oh, why? What's going on? Completely oblivious. And she said, that young person that spoke and shared that with you actually doesn't generally talk in the class. And I was like, holy shit, that's like our first day in there. And then they were talking to the other young people in the class. And then apparently in morning tea after our session, that they continued to engage with other participants in that classroom. So I was like, okay, well, there's some outcomes on our very first day, so that was pretty cool. Then a couple of weeks later, that same young person came in, and you could see she was having a bit of a rough day. And then Pascal actually climbed up on the beanbag with her, and she had a blanket, and they snuggled up together. Then seeing these young people coming outside, and they were playing with Pascal and running around in the outdoors, to see them be able to start to talk about their feelings. Because what we were doing is sort of like they would do a check-in with the thermometer, like with blue zone, yellow zone, green zone, red zone. And then we were talking about, if we were to do a thermometer for Pascal, where do you reckon she is right now? And then one day they're like, oh, she's in the yellow zone, because like Pascal was like super weird. And then they were able to talk about their own feelings because they were managing what was happening. They were actually just watching Pascal and then going, oh yeah, I feel like that sometimes too. And then we'd go outside and we'd, like they would just come and talk to me. We'd sit on the ground and Pascal would come and cuddle, or they were teaching her skills to learn that they could actually do hard things. So we were teaching them how to ask her to stay at the doorway. We'd have her on a long line. They'd go outside and then they would call Pascal out to them, and they would be able to reward her with some treats if they could get her to do that. They started teaching her how to put her on a mat inside a hoop. So they were just learning skills of going, I can actually do hard things as part of this. But because it wasn't like a structured class where you've got to do the hard thing, it was just this, oh, we're playing with a dog and they get to engage with her like that. The last week I kind of went a bit rogue. I said to the clinician, I said, I've just had this idea as I was driving in. I kind of don't want to really do the structured thing that we had planned, because I generally don't like structured stuff myself, because it's like I want to see what's happening in that group and we'll go with whatever's there. So I said to the kids, I said, look, over the last 5 weeks, we've learnt all of these things about how do we notice stress signals in Pascal? How do we know when she's uncomfortable? What are the things that she does when that's happening? And so they've got up and wrote a big list up on the whiteboard of all of these things. And we talked about how she may be different to your dog at home because she's quite a well-regulated dog. She has lots of supports in place, and she's harder to see, like if her face is tense because she's just a big fluffy thing. Her ears sit differently to other dogs. So we talked about all of that. So they've got this huge big list. And then I sort of said, what would we write as a group about how we know our own stress signals, or when we feel discomfort or we feel worried or anxious? And then next thing you know, they've got this huge big list, and they were just throwing out all of this stuff about what they've learnt through Pascal, which has shown them what they feel. And so I was like, wow, that was so cool to be able to just freestyle it a little bit. And funnily at the end, because there was a gentleman in there and I was like, I don't know who he is. They just told me his name. I'm like, yeah, cool, there's some fella in there. And when we left, he came and started talking to me. He's like, oh my goodness, this is amazing what you do. How long have you been doing it? I'm like, we just got certified like a month ago, but I've done this work with horses for the last 3 years. Turns out that he was the consultant psychiatrist for mental health. So I was like, oh my God, glad I didn't know that beforehand, or I may have been questioning my decision. But it just shows the proof of I'm not a therapist as such, like I'm 3rd year of my master's in Gestalt psychotherapy, but this experiential learning alongside dogs or the horses or whatever, the value that it has to be able to work with these young people. And I just got word, must have been Friday, that we've now been approved to continue the program for the next term, and then they'll reassess for the new financial year. So we'll attend the adolescent inpatient unit every week for an hour and support their programs that they're doing.
Oh, how
Yay.
exciting.
So yeah,
So
pretty
cool.
wild.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Straight into it.
Yeah. And there's lots of talk going around, of people going, oh, we really would like to get Mel to come and work alongside here. And I'm like, oh, geez, I'm going to need another dog at this rate, because obviously supporting Pascal, because you do see the intensity of the work when we go home. Because we're always there, 20 minutes early, and she has a run around outside and whatever. And then she just gets in the car and she's like, okay, I'm done. And we go home and she sleeps under the bed for an hour or two. So that's why I say to people, like, that's really important too, is to give them downtime, because I know that works a lot for her. When she comes to the office, it's a little bit different. She doesn't seem, to have those signs of, okay, that's really exhausting. But because in that class, there could be 6 young people plus staff. So there's a lot going on for her. And she handles it so well, but she's also starting to show, like, okay, I just want to lay next to you. I'm not going to run around all, super crazy. But when she does, they absolutely love it as well. So,
Oh, Pascal.
Then
I
that's the
know.
thing of, like, you don't want to, like, it won't be long. And for
Yeah.
some people's dogs already, like, their dogs are like just laying down the whole time. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm saying what I was saying before earlier about, like, don't squash that. Like,
Yeah.
initial excitement, because we really do need that, because that would have done a lot for your like group cohesion of
Yeah.
that, her bringing that like playful, joyful energy in, and then everyone's having a shared experience of
Yeah.
watching her and laughing at her and enjoying
Yeah.
her, and then all of a sudden it's that social lubricant thing happening. We don't want to lose that.
And I
So
know that was something I worried about a lot, in the sense of like, oh my God, people are going to see my dog and think she's a lunatic, and she's wearing a therapy dog coat, but she's carrying on like a crazy lady. But I'm like, and I just explained to people, we don't want to take that out of her. We want her to come in spaces like, we sit in the car outside, and sometimes the participants turn up in their car to go into the unit. And then I was on the phone the other day, and she's like going off her tree because she's like howling and sooking and whinging because there's this young person that she knows that's got out of the car. And that young person that day was actually struggling to come in the class. And I sort of said to the staff, I'm just going to go over there. And I took Pascal, and Pascal went and sat next to her and started like giving her cuddles and stuff. And we talked about Pascal's excited tail. And then I sort of just said to the young girl, because obviously they struggled to put it into words how they're feeling. And I said, if you were a dog today, where would your tail be? And she said, between my legs. And so then we talked about, could we go together, and would it be okay if we went into class together and Pascal could support her? So just to see that work and how it unfolds, like, is just the most amazing stuff. And I would never thought possible, because I wasn't going to get a dog.
now you're gonna have to get another dog.
Yeah. I don't know what my partner, and I remember saying to him about buying a dog, and he's like, yeah, because I'd send him photos. I do this with horses and stuff too, and I'd just send him photos, and then he'd be like, well, I don't know why you're asking me, because you're going to do whatever you're going to do anyway. And I'm like, I've actually already put a deposit on it, like.
It's informed consent.
So it's like, I'm
Yes.
just seeing what you think, but I'm just going to do it anyway. So you never know, there could be another dog on the card. So
How exciting. I'm excited for that.
Brilliant. Yeah.
I think I need to finish uni first. I've got another year and a bit to go of uni, and then maybe we can have another dog. We're just gonna.
We'll see.
It starts costing a bit when you have to put them into kennels and stuff when you're away.
Oh,
So I'm
yeah.
like, I didn't
Yeah.
think that part out very well, but she goes to like a 5-star dog resort here in Townsville, where they have like a bed and air conditioning and a fan and TV, and they've got access to the pool if they want to go swimming. And
Cute.
so she's
Love
very
that
well
for
looked
her.
after.
Yeah. Love that for her.
She's on a holiday while you're just off at uni.
Yeah.
Yeah. While I'm there, like, stressed out. Yeah, she's
Bless her.
yeah.
Queen Pascal, Princess Pascal.
Yeah, I'm like, I need to get her a little crown or something, like to wear. She goes to the unit and she wears like a t-shirt sometimes. Like, I've got a pink flamingo. And I was actually going to say, they've actually now named Wednesday Pascal Day.
Oh,
So
bless.
Cute.
they actually started drawing things up on the wall saying like, it's Pascal Day and hello, you little goober, and all of these things. I've actually got cards that they wrote for us, and there's a drawing next to me that one of the young people did of her and Pascal cuddling together. So even in 5 weeks, that impact that we had, and there was a lot of sadness even on my part that, this is it for this term, but we'll be back, sort of thing. So, you could see, so it was something that we had to manage over that time as well, of, okay, we are only here, like, this is our second to last week, this is our last week, to make sure that they were supported in, okay, she's here and now she's gone. Because that's something that I worry a lot about as well, is, okay, now she's just disappears, kind of thing. But she'll be back next term, which is really exciting. So
Well, thank goodness for that, because that is really tricky, managing the
the
when they
goodbye.
develop the human animal bond. You facilitate it, and then you've got to bring it to an end, and after 5 weeks that is tricky. So
yeah
thank goodness.
But it was
Thank
always
goodness.
something like, having worked in mental health for so long, and I've seen when I've transitioned out of a job and it's like, okay, that's it, see you later kind of thing. And I know the impact of that. And even for myself with my own mental health journey of like when people just disappeared or something. So we were as a group, working with the unit was very like, okay, how do we structure this so that the young people know? So it was like, we're here for 5 weeks. This is week 2. It's week 3. We've got 2 weeks left, so that they knew that it
Mm.
wasn't just and so they got to do cards and pictures and celebrate her. And our first session was actually on Pascal's birthday. So we actually took we took birthday treats in and made a big like, oh, it's Pascal's birthday, and they got to feed her puppy dog treats for her birthday and stuff too. So they had that relationship with her really quickly.
Oh,
How
lovely.
beautiful.
Well, we're very proud of you, Mel and
Yeah,
Pascal, and all
thank
of
you.
the stuff. I'm just, very impressed with, the teams. They get out there, you finally get your certificate, your dog's been fully trained and assessed, and you've graduated all of your assessments and get that little
Mm,
coat or bandana, whatever people get sent out. And then you guys are out there, like, and creating opportunities. It's not easy to do that. So
no.
I know there's people that get out there, they've got their dog, they're ready to go, and they're just not finding opportunities, or their doors are closing, instead of opening. And I know it's really hard and frustrating, because the stuff that you're talking about in describing, like the impact that you've had as a
Mm,
team already, that's something that we know, like, that there's the possibility for that, those outcomes. And the research is, they're trying to be there for us and back us up, but it's not really there.
yeah.
It's anecdotally, what we're seeing. Anyone that's been working around these programs, like what we're seeing, what we with our own eyes, what we're hearing with our own ears, and what the colleagues are experiencing as well. The feedback from the support people of the clients, the feedback from the clients themselves, the participants. We know that it's worth it.
Yeah.
Like, we know that it's worth all that effort that you put in, and even the costs. So the
Mm,
cost of, if you have had to upgrade your insurance or whatever, there's ongoing reassessment costs, there's this, there's that, there's all this stuff that you are incurring. But when you get those golden moments that happen,
mm-hmm.
and you're like, man, there's just nothing else has been able to get
Do
that.
that.
Like,
Yeah.
nothing, yeah, nothing else has been able to unlock that level. So worth it. Even though it's, heaps more effort for us, it does also make our jobs easier and more satisfactory and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, don't be disheartened to other people out there if you haven't found your place yet, but keep going. Like, keep putting yourself out there, keep contacting people. I just love hearing, the
Mm,
teams have secured, like Bree and Liz, and like, they've secured these places that they've been able to go and showcase themselves, and then people have seen the value in them. And Heidi as well, people have seen the value in them, and then have gone like, yeah, we want you, like, we want you here, we can see this. So yeah, really hard to get that first foot in the door, but
mm.
once you get that opportunity and people can see what the dogs do. But then also as well, probably be prepared, like you were saying, like, you can't hide your dog's actual who they are,
Yeah.
especially once you get to a workplace. So even if people try and sneakily get around the videos, and get over the
Yeah.
line with some sneaky videoing, that's which is possible. Like, you can do
Yeah.
that, get through a temperament assessment, and, slip through, but there's no hiding once you get to that workplace. So yeah,
Yeah.
just being aware of that too. Hey, Mel.
Yeah, and I think there's something like you were saying, there's not a lot of research around this stuff, which is really frustrating and
Mm,
hard because when people are asking for stuff, I think one of the really good things and for people to have a think about is when we did the course and there's the stuff with Animal Therapies Limited, I actually use that as part of like the documents that I forwarded when I did all of that stuff and making sure that you do up a really good risk assessment about what this actually looks like because I think because I went in with all of that stuff, I didn't just come in and go, hey, I've got a puppy dog, want to bring it here and let's do fun things kind of thing. And then I created a bit of a structure. Like I said, what are the things that we need to support in here? So I kind of went in, like I was going for a job interview and really pitching why this is beneficial. And then that was where the clinical team did their stuff with the thermometer that the young people, so prior to the session, they filled it out. On the opposite side of the session, they filled it out. I had a form that was like, I'd created it with emojis, and it was like, how do you feel about being around Pascal today? Like, how do you go being in groups, blah, blah, blah. So they could just circle the emoji, which was me thinking, how do kids want to do a form that's fun and engaging? Let's use technology. So we did that, and it was like, one word for how you feel today, and then what did you get from being with Pascal? And initially they were kind of just going, it was fun. And, my brain was going, well, that's not going to help us secure funding, or it's not going to help us secure this work if you just go, it's fun. So then I was like, okay, at the end, I sort of directed it a little bit more, and I started looking at as, if Pascal wasn't here, what difference would that make to you? So that then they were actually putting some thought into what we're writing here, so that then when we're sending that to people, we're going, this is the difference that this actually makes to these young people. Because how do you track it otherwise? Oh, the kids were engaging and they were having fun and they were smiling and they were talking. Like, how do you actually track that shit? It's not easy to do. And I think that's why we struggle getting evidence about how these programs actually work. So that would be my thought to people, is like, have a think about how you can provide evidence. Because I'm like, I can provide evidence. There's people that come here, they turn up every week and they have never cancelled an appointment, like that says something in itself, and I say to people, if you were going to a clinical setting, for example, if they've had bad experiences there, would you turn up every week? And they're like, no way. I'd cancel. I'd be like, oh, I feel sick today or whatever. So we have that engagement level as one of our things, and it's, what are those things that we can actually say we have evidence? I have pieces of paper that these young people have filled in every week. I've got the clinicians providing me, their fancy words that they use to describe what happens, because I just keep it simple, stupid, and, what did I see? This was what I saw, So I think there's some value in having some of that stuff. And my thing is, if people want to know how I've done it, I'm happy to talk to people and share some of that information as well, because I spend hours.
So the answer to that is like formal measures and coding.
Yeah.
So like you need a control group, you got to film stuff, and then have all the engagement coded.
Yeah.
Behavior tracked and coded and turned into data, which is why people don't do it, because it's a nightmare. So
much work, I imagine.
So much work. Yeah, so really tricky. And like you say, so you can do feedback informed therapy, do outcome rating scales, you can do stuff like that. But if you're not comparing it to a control group, then it doesn't mean anything to anyone anyway. So, and engagement and retention in therapy can be influenced by lots of different factors, and the client group, who they are, and all that sort of stuff. So for example, like if people are running programs in hospitals with inpatients, they might have a different show up rate, retention rate, because the patient's living there, they're already there, as opposed to we're doing something with outpatients or not in hospital or things like that. So all these variables and all these factors that make it really challenging. I think what makes the difference is when we have people who've got a bit of buy-in already. So people that have heard about these programs, or you just happen to end up with a program director in the hospital or wherever who's a bit more open-minded, a bit interested. They might be a dog person, haven't had a bad experience yet. That's the other thing that we're fighting against, is that we've got people out there doing rogue stuff with rogue dogs, and it's creating a drama, and then all the dogs get banned.
And that was actually something that was feedback. That's actually what had happened at the unit previously, is that they'd had another organisation there, and the dog was wild, jumping all over people, blah, blah, blah. There's all this stuff that was happening. So then obviously I took that into consideration and went, okay, what can I do? And apparently that dog used to just get to run around, whereas Pascal is on lead at all times. However, that might be a 10-meter long line, but it just means that I can still manage her if she goes off and goes, oh, I want to do whatever, and can self-reinforce. So she's still managed in the sense of I can go, okay, you need to come back over here now. So that was taking that into consideration. So there has been a bit of that stuff of like we've had bad experiences. So then having that structure of, okay, I've got the ATL stuff, I've done this stuff, I've got a certificate, we are assessed, we're reassessed every year. And I feel now the pressure to do really well this year because we did so well at the start. It's like,
I'm going to publish your scores.
The pressure is real. Last year she got 33, now she got 22. No. But yeah, so there's that to fight against as well. And being a sole person, like to get into a government organisation is not an easy thing to do, but
well, that's true too.
We did it.
The other thing, so what you were describing before, like all that paperwork that you took in and stuff, that's like applying for a tender. And that model would make sense to them.
Yes.
Where I've got all of this, I've got all this information and I'm applying for like the resource that you have, which for them was an opportunity at that time, and now it's going to be financial as well. They wouldn't have got that from the other other dog.
Yeah.
The other dog that was there wouldn't have done. So lots of organizations, they don't train the handler. They just assess the dog. Yeah. They just go tick, 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 tick. Like off you go with the dog and do whatever you want. And
gosh,
so
that's wild to me.
Isn't that wild to think about?
Wow.
And then even the other, like what I also come across a lot of is, oh, I've got a dog and it's a therapy dog. And it's got no training and the person's got no training, and then insurance. And I remember, Sam, listening to one of your podcasts talking about something and the dog had licked a client and they were allergic. Yes. Yeah. And so I remember listening to that, and this is where I think there's such value in the therapy dog stuff, is because I used to feed Pascal some peanut butter in her Kong, for example. And then I was like, oh, that's something to think about, like if that happens. Also, because I have allergies, so I'm like, okay, I think about that sometimes. And then I was like, oh, I feed her salmon and tapioca prime 100 roll. Oh, fish. Turns out about a week and a half later, I had a young person out at the paddock, and they obviously don't think to go, I'm allergic to fish. Because I'm at a paddock, and what's the likelihood of there being a fish out there that I'm going to touch or whatever. And so I had actually taken her off that dog roll the 2 weeks before. And, in my head, I'm like, see, there's all this stuff that people don't actually think about. It's not just take my dog to work day. And then people have said, oh, I used to take my dog and then now it doesn't like going. And it's like, because you took it too early and it wasn't ready for that. So I think there's a lot of value in all of that stuff that I've learnt along this journey that has supported me to do the right thing for Pascal, but for people that engage with her as well. Because there's so much to it.
There's so much to it. And, we don't want to scare people away and overcomplicate stuff, because the information's here. Like, that's why we have these chats. And I hope that everybody has enjoyed listening to your story, Mel, and getting to know you and more about Pascal as well, and feeling motivated too. But yeah, there's some cowboys out there doing some wild stuff. And, it just actually slows us all down. And those times when we have problems with insurance, that's why. I'd say, because sporadically we seem to have the insurance companies being quite difficult for people to buy insurance from. So if anyone's listening who's one of those cowboys out there doing all dumb shit, can you please not do that?
Please, yes, stop.
Can you please not do that? If you're a dog trainer who's just ticking people's dogs off, can you please also stop doing that and send them to us? And you can do the temperament assessment and tick as many things on the form as you want and let us train the handler, or at least send them to our pod so that they can...
Yeah, the podcasts are amazing. It's been a big part of my journey because I do a lot of driving, is just listen to that stuff. So I've learnt a lot from that as well.
So have we.
Awesome.
So have we. So Mel's talking about the Shit Happens podcast. I think it's episode part 1 of the Shit Happens podcast. Remember when somebody put peanut butter in a Kong and then the dog licked the client and they had allergic reaction.
Yep.
They were
Oh,
fine. They were fine.
yeah.
Yeah, so you guys, like, we're learning as well,
Mm.
about that sort of stuff too. So that's, it's not just the listeners are finding this stuff out. We're also learning, me and Max are
Mm.
learning stuff along the way and just being the vessels. So, all right, we're going to wrap it up. So thanks so much, Mel, for your
You're
time
welcome.
Thank
and jumping
you.
in and, yeah, sharing your story and trying to help encourage others as well along the way. Very, very impressed and very, very
Mm.
proud. And we did know that you were going to make it.
I still
So,
remember you going, "Oh, don't think like you." It was almost like you're getting too big for your boots. You're not gonna necessarily get there. And I'm like, "I will show you, Sam." And then I showed
okay.
you.
What Mel is referring to is when I say to people that the most important thing is that you're enjoying your dog and loving them as a pet, because there's never any guarantee that your dog will become a therapy dog. Obviously, you heard that quite targeted and took it
I was
took
like,
it
I
on
will. I did,
as a challenge.
absolutely. Yep, everything for me is a challenge. I will show you, and next year we'll get, I don't know. I feel like don't go
We'll
in with
see
high
you.
expectations.
I knew
Mm.
you'd do that, Mel, so that's why I said it. So you're welcome.
Bit of reverse psychology in
Yeah,
there.
yeah, I was like, oh, I see where this is going.
Good times. All right. Thank you so
Thanks
much,
so much,
Mel.
Mel.
Keep us
Yeah,
posted on the program.
yes, absolutely, we'll do that.
All right. See you guys.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. If you're interested in studying with us, but you have a few more questions before you get started, please get in touch with us by emailing info@therapydog.com.au or visiting our website, www.therapydog.com.au, for more information and our FAQs.